Over the years, I've created hundreds of video sales letters in dozens of different industries. And what I've learned is that the best VSLs don't need to use any fake scarcity or cringy sales tactics in order for them to work. They don't need a high budget studio video production or any fancy editing. And they don't need to be updated every few months in order for it to keep converting. In fact, all you need to do is follow a very simple step-by-step formula that I'm going to show you in this video. This is the same VSL formula or VSL script that I've been using for my own business for over 5 years now. And if you look at my VSL as an example, you'll see that I'm not even on camera in the VSL. It's just a simple slide presentation, and it's mostly stayed the same in the last 5 years. And this VSL just largely runs on autopilot in the background in my business, and it generates qualified appointments booked in the calendar every single day. So if, like me, you just want one simple video sales letter that actually converts strangers into leads and then into appointments and then into clients, then this video is for you, because I'm going to go through exactly how I structure video sales letters for clients and how you can do the same in your business as well. So the first part of writing a high converting video sales letter script is to make a big promise. So this is basically the title of your VSL and the first 10 to 20 seconds of the VSL script. So in this part of the VSL, it's very important that you hook people into watching the rest of your video sales letter, because quite frankly, if you don't do this step correctly, it doesn't matter how good your VSL actually is, and it doesn't matter how good your service is as a business. If people don't actually watch the VSL and get to the end of the VSL, they're not going to schedule a call with you to learn more about how you can help them. So it's really important and crucial that in the first 10 to 20 seconds, we get them hooked into watching the whole thing. So in order to do that, what you basically just want to do is talk about a big promise that you can solve for them. Now, this big promise should be a big problem that people have. If it's not a big problem, then people are just not going to be interested. So it is important that you actually solve a big problem in your business. And you might think it's a big problem, but you really need to drill down and think, why are people hiring you in the first place? Why are they actually paying you money? And when it comes to solving a big painful problem in your business, you want to make sure that you communicate that in a way that gets people interested and excited in learning more. So that's why it's important when you make a big promise, you don't say something that's a little bit boring, something that it just doesn't sound that interesting to anyone. And at the same time, you also don't want to go to the other end of the extreme where you say something that sounds maybe a little bit too good to be true. So you want to find the right balance between something that is exciting, but also something that's very realistic and achievable for your clients. So to do this, just think about what is the average result you typically get your clients. So for example, in my business, what I say on my VSL title and in the first 10 to 20 seconds is the big promise that I make is basically how to get 10, 15, 30 or more predictable appointments every single month with your ideal clients, and how you can do this without doing any cold calling, networking events, relying on referrals, or anything else like that. So when it comes to creating a good VSL title and a good 10 to 20 second hook to get people glued into watching the rest of your video, here are 3 things I recommend that you keep in mind. Number 1, be specific. So with the title, you'll notice that I don't just say how to get more appointments. I say how to get 10, 15, 30 or more appointments. So by being specific and actually saying this is the range or the specific tangible result that you can get from this, it helps people visualize the result. And then when they can visualize the result, it helps increase the chances that people actually take action and actually watch your video, because it becomes more realistic to them. And that's the kind of thing you want to do in your business. Now, you don't have to mention a specific range like I did. So I actually say 10, 15, 30 or more predictable appointments. You don't have to be specific in terms of a range, although if you can, that definitely helps. But you do need to be specific with the tangible outcome that they get. So you'll notice at the end of the title, I also say how to get appointments with your ideal clients. So this isn't just about getting booked appointments on your calendar, but it's about getting the right kind of appointments booked onto your calendar. So in your business, think about a specific tangible outcome that you can get for people and actually describe that in detail inside of your VSL title. The second thing that I recommend that you do is to tell people what they can avoid. So that's why I tell people either inside of the VSL title and subtitle or in the first few seconds of the VSL script, how they can do this without, going to networking events, without going to different seminars or relying on referrals or cold calling or anything else like that. So I talk about what are some of the things that my potential clients have tried in the past that haven't worked really well, and what are some things that they're trying to avoid doing because they've just found it just doesn't doesn't work that great and they're looking for something better. So by actually mentioning that, you'll be able to get people more drawn into what is your solution. And this also brings me to the third thing that you need to do, which is to create curiosity. So when it comes to marketing psychology and getting people to take action, this is probably one of the most powerful things that you can do. From all the different tactics and strategies that I've used in my VSL script, I found curiosity is the thing that usually gets people to take action more than anything else. So you'll notice in the VSL title and subtitle that I use, I don't specifically talk about what is the actual solution. So they don't know if I'm using Facebook ads or TikTok ads or sales funnels or whatever it might be, right? They need to actually watch the video to find out what the solution is. Now they know what the solution is not. They know it has nothing to do with networking events, referrals, seminars, and things like that. But at the same time, they don't know what the solution is and how it actually works. So that creates curiosity. Another way you can do this, and this is something I've done for a lot of clients, in the subtitle, instead of saying without this or that, you can also say by making one simple change to your business or to your finances or to something else, right? To your life. And by saying the phrase by making one simple change, again, this creates curiosity. You're not telling people what that change is, so they have to watch the video to find out. And this curiosity is what motivates people to take action and watch the video because they want to find out what it is. It also creates what's called an open loop. So an open loop is when you say that you're going to tell someone something, but you don't actually tell them what it is until you reach the end of that loop. And this is something that people use all the time, not just in video sales letter scripts, but in films and TV shows and even on YouTube videos. They use open loops where they promise something and then you have to keep watching to find out what is the answer to the thing that they just promised. So using that again creates curiosity and it can be very powerful to motivate people to take action. So now that you've got your title and your hook and the first 10 to 20 seconds of your VSL script is done, you can now move on to the second part, which is to agitate the problem. So here we basically just want to talk about the problem that people have. And this part is also heavily psychological because some people will say to me, well, why can't we just skip talking about the problem? Because people already know what the problem is. That's why they're watching the video, right? So why can't we just skip this part and then just move straight onto talking about the solution? Well, the reason you can't really do that, and if you do that, you'll find that it doesn't work that well, is because people don't know, like, or trust you yet. So really, you need to build up trust first before you talk about the solution. So how do you build up trust? Well, you need to get them to feel that you understand what they are going through. And by talking about the problem, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to empathize with them and they're going to trust you more. So the better you can do this part, the better you can describe the problem in the same way that your potential clients describe the problem and use the same language and words that they use, the more people will trust you and the better results that you'll get. So there are lots of ways that you could do this, but one of the ways you could do this is simply by asking rhetorical questions. So this is something that I do in my VSL. So for example, I go through different questions. So I say, do you start each month wondering where that next client is going to come from? Do you hate the idea of having to chase leads to work with you? Wouldn't it be better if they chased you instead? And are you finding that the traditional ways of marketing, things like cold calling, relying on referrals, networking events, and so on, are no longer as effective as they used to be? And are you looking for something better? And then I go through a few more questions. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them to say yes in the back of their minds. I want them to say, yes, this is exactly how I feel. Because by getting them to say yes and agreeing with you, you're psychologically getting them to trust you. And then when you go through later on in the VSL and explain what is your solution and how does that work and why is it better than other solutions and go through all of that part, they're going to trust you more because you've already built up that empathy with them and they're going to think that you really do understand what they're going through. Now, like I said, it doesn't have to be questions, but you do want to talk about the problem one way or another. And the better you do this, the better results you're going to get. So listen carefully to what your clients and potential clients have told you on sales calls. Listen to what they like or what they don't like, and then use those same words or that same language to describe the problem in your VSL. And just to be upfront with you, this can take some time, especially if you're new to this and you're still not 100% sure of what the problem is. It may take some time for you to really describe that problem in the language that people have. So when I first started my business, I would actually focus more on creating websites for clients. And this is going back maybe probably 10, 15 years ago now. But I thought the big problem that people had is that they just needed a good website, right? And that's what they wanted. But what they really wanted, what the real big problem that they had was they just didn't have any new clients or any new customers. So what they needed to do was not just have a website, but they also needed to have clients from that website. So that's when I had to adjust the wording and the problems that I solve for clients and things like that to talk about something that is an actual problem for them. And again, over the years, I've had sales calls with probably thousands of different people by now. And on those sales calls, they tell me all the time what is the problem that they have. And I use all of that feedback from sales calls and even emails and things like that. And I use that feedback to be able to construct the VSL. So just keep that in mind for your business. The better you can explain the problem, the better the results that you're going to get, because the more trust you'll be able to build with your prospect. Now, when you do this step correctly, leads will now be open to hearing about the next part of the VSL script, which is to talk about a better solution. So you've talked about the problem, and now logically, you want to go through what is a better solution. So is there a better way to do what you've just described? So what we typically do for other clients is after we go through, what is the problem, we'll say, so is there a better way? And then we'll just say, yes, there is a better way, and this is the better way. So when describing the better way, if you can come up with a unique name for this better way of doing things, then that's great, because that will give you a unique edge. And even if it's similar to what other people do, just giving it a unique name will help position it as something more unique. And then you want to then describe how this unique or better solution works. And importantly, you want to go through how this new and better solution solves all of the problems that you've just gone through in the beginning part of the VSL. Now, depending on your business and the type of service that you provide, you may need to spend more or less time on this section. It just depends on how complicated it is to describe what is your new and better solution. So for some businesses, it might be quite straightforward. So for example, with some of the accounting firms that we work with, and they specialize in tax planning. So in other words, they help businesses save money on taxes. It is pretty straightforward. The problem is that businesses are paying a lot of money on taxes, right? And the reason they're doing that is because they're just hiring an accountant or a CPA to just file their taxes. So is there a better way to do things? Yes. Instead of just hiring an accountant or a CPA to file your taxes, you can work with someone that specializes in tax planning. And tax planning is the new and better solution. Tax planning is when you plan in advance how to pay less in taxes. So do you see how we transition from the problem into the new and better solution? Now, if your solution is a little bit more complex than that, and maybe you need to spend a little bit more time explaining to people, why is this different? Why is this unique? And how does this new and better solution actually work? Then you might need to spend a little bit more time with this. So for some businesses, it might make sense to go through maybe 3 steps or 5 steps to this new and better solution. So in my business, for example, because I specialize in lead generation and digital marketing, it does take a little bit more time to explain how this new and better solution works. So I actually go through 5 steps of this new and better solution. And in each of these steps, I go through what they need to do in order to actually get better results and solve all of the problems that I've just basically gone through in the beginning part of the VSL. So if you do the same kind of thing in your business and you're going through a step-by-step process, just keep in mind for each of these steps, don't just tell people what the solution is. You need to actually tell people what are other people doing when it comes to this step. Why is this step what they need to do instead? And why is this step better? So let me give you a real life example. So in step 2 of my VSL, one of the things that I say that they need to do in order to solve the problems they've been getting is to actually create a VSL. So step 2 of the new and better solution is having a high converting VSL. So I go on to explain that without this step, this is the reason why most marketing campaigns fail. And I explain how I've had so many people in the past tell me I've tried LinkedIn or I've tried Facebook ads or I've tried any other marketing channel, right? And they haven't got any results. But when I ask them if they've actually used a video sales letter, the answer is usually no. They've just been sending people to their website or to their scheduling page or, just to a landing page where people just fill in a form to request a callback or learn more about working together. And that's the reason why it hasn't worked. They haven't built up any trust with the leads that they've generated. And that's what the video sales letter is designed to do. It's kind of like having a salesperson working for your business 24/7 who basically motivates leads to actually go ahead to the next step and schedule a call with you because they're actually excited and because they actually want to work with you. So it's a complete game changer if you don't already have a VSL and then you now do have a VSL. And even if you do already have a VSL, if it's not converting well, then obviously it's not going to work. We've had some clients, for example, that they've tried to do this on their own before working with us, and they've tried to create their own VSL, or maybe they've worked with another marketing company that created a VSL for them, and the VSL just hasn't converted well. And when I look at the VSL straight away, I can see why it's not converting, and it's because they haven't followed this formula that I'm going through right now. So what we did for one client recently who signed up last year, he actually was working with another marketing company before, and he spent thousands of dollars on Facebook ads and didn't even get a single appointment from the VSL. So then he hired us, we took over, we created the VSL, and then within days of just launching it, he already started to get booked appointments on his calendar with people that were actually interested in working with him. So he was completely blown away by this because he's already spent thousands of dollars, which have basically gone to waste with nothing to show for it. And now in just a few days, he's already getting appointments from the VSLs. So that just shows how important it is to have a high converting VSL. So once you've described the new and better solution, people in the back of their minds will probably start thinking, this sounds great, but it sounds like a lot of work, or how do I actually get this done? Or, they could have all these doubts and obstacles in the back of their mind as to whether this is actually going to work for them. And this is perfect because this now means you can smoothly transition to the next part of the VSL, which is to talk about why working with you is better than other alternative solutions. So what are these other alternative solutions that could come up? Well, an alternative solution could be anything that promises the same result that you promise. So for example, in my business, an alternative solution could be using some sort of software or technology or tool to generate leads and appointments. And the reality is there are hundreds of different tools out there that promise to get you leads. But the problem with these tools is that a lot of the time, you don't really get leads or appointments. You really just get contacts. So you just get people's name, email, and phone number. And sometimes these tools are just really scraping information. And even if the tool is good, because there are some tools that I recommend that you use to help you generate leads, the tool is still only as good as the strategy that you're using with the tool. So it's not like the tool is the thing that gets you the results. It's the strategy that you use that gets you the results. Another alternative solution could be just trying to do this themselves. So if that's another thing that your potential clients may do, you can explain why working with you is better than them trying to do this on their own. Now, most of the time, if someone's going to try to do this on their own, it likely means that they're going to be spending probably months, if not years, on trying to figure this out themselves. So they're probably going to make a lot of mistakes, but why would you spend, thousands of dollars trying to figure everything out and spend countless hours through trial and error and making mistakes when you could just learn from someone who has already done this and from someone who already does this all the time? Wouldn't it just be easier to learn from someone that has already made all the mistakes so you can avoid making a lot of the mistakes, and then you can just get a shortcut to getting the same desired result? So if someone's thinking about doing this themselves, usually that's pretty straightforward. You can just describe what is the scenario, what will happen if they do it themselves, and what would happen if they work with you instead. And usually by working with you, they're going to get faster results, make less mistakes, and often, even though it might cost some money in the beginning, usually they're actually going to save money in the long run. So that's quite a straightforward alternative solution to solve. And then the third alternative solution that could come up could be using competitors that also promise the same thing. Now, a lot of people don't really want to talk about what the competition is offering because they think, oh, they might now go to a competitor. But the reality is they're going to be thinking this in the back of their mind anyway when they watch your VSL. So you might as well address it in the VSL because this is likely going to be an objection or a concern that they're going to have. So how do you actually do this? Well, you need to talk about why your solution is better than other alternative solutions that are out there when it comes to using different competitors. So there are lots of different ways you can do this. For our clients, what we typically do is we get them to fill out a questionnaire when they start working with us. And those questions will give us all the answers we need to actually create the VSL script and then see what are the ways that we can position the client or their business in a way that makes them stand out as different and unique to what else is available. And there's usually always an angle that we can talk about in order to do that. But you do want to address it. You do want to explain why your solution is better than other solutions. So for example, in my business, the way that we do this is we just say upfront that yes, there are lots of different marketing and lead generation companies out there that promise the same kind of thing, right? They promise to get you leads and appointments. But the problem with those companies is that a lot of the time they're going to either charge you for the leads and they're going to put a markup on that lead, which means you're going to be paying more per lead instead of just going directly to the source and getting the leads yourself, or they're going to be charging you a monthly retainer regardless if you get any results or not. And then what happens is if you stop paying them, they stop helping you. And then we go on to say, but with us, it's completely different. We don't charge you any monthly retainers or anything like that. We just charge a one-time investment to work with you, and then we work with you for life until you get results. So in other words, it's in our best interest to get you results as soon as realistically possible, because the faster that you're getting results, the faster the whole system is automated, and then we can just move on and help the next client. And then sometimes I get people ask me, Ash, how can you, promise to give lifetime support to your clients? Well, the reality is, and the reason we can do this is because most of our clients don't need lifetime support. In fact, I can't think of any clients that have actually used the lifetime support we provide, because again, once they're getting results, they don't need our help anymore because the whole system is automated. The video sales letter just gets them leads and appointments predictably on their calendar without them having to do any additional work. And for most of our clients, we do get them pretty quick results within the first few months of actually launching their campaign. Usually when you pay someone else to help you, what they're going to do is, like I said, they're going to charge you a monthly retainer, or even if it is a one-time investment in the beginning, you'll find that when you do actually need help and when you maybe don't get the results that you were promised in the beginning, what they're going to do is they're going to try to upsell you to the next program. So maybe, a higher level program where you get, better support or better access to training or help or whatever it might be, in order to get the result that you're looking for. But I don't want my clients to have to go through any of that. I just want them to get the result that they paid for in the first place. And that's why we have that guarantee where if you don't see any results within the first month of basically launching the campaign, we keep working with you for free each month until you do. So that's how we position ourselves as unique. So think about in your business, how do you position what you offer as something that's unique and something that's more valuable than what everyone else is offering? So at this point, if you've done all the steps so far that I've gone through in the VSL script, you're going to have people that are very excited to want to work with you. Now, even if you did nothing else and you just told people at this stage to just click on the button below the video, below the VSL to schedule a call with you, you're still going to be getting some appointments. However, there's still a few extra things that you can do to increase the chances that you get even more conversions from your VSL. So what else can you do? Well, this brings me on to the next step, which is to provide proof. So up to this point, you'll notice that we haven't really talked too much about who you are as a company, because quite frankly, no one really cares who you are. So that's why in the VSL, we don't talk about, a big, history about who you are and your background and all of that kind of stuff, because again, people just don't care. They just want to know what is the solution to the problem that they have, right? So we don't go through any of that, but we also haven't talked too much about results, right? We haven't really talked too much about what you have accomplished as, as a person or as a company for other people. And this would be the perfect time to go into a little bit more detail as to what proof do you have that backs up what you actually say in the VSL. So if you have any client case studies, any client results, any testimonials and things like this, this would be the perfect time to include this in the VSL script. However, you want to do this the right way, because a big mistake that I see people make is that they just start playing maybe, 2-3 minute long client video testimonials inside the VSL itself. And usually that's overkill for most people, because it's not that people need to watch all of your video testimonials or all of your, written testimonials. It's not that they need to do that. They just need to see that it exists. They just need to see that you do have testimonials. So I recommend just keeping this part brief. So you can go into a few testimonial examples and you can go through what some people have said about working with you. That's absolutely fine, but don't spend like 5 or 10 minutes on this section, because for some people, it just might not be needed. And it might make your video sales letter unnecessarily longer than it actually has to be. So what I do in my VSL, I go through a few examples of other clients that we helped in the past, but then I just say, if you want to learn more or see more examples and more case studies and success stories and things like that, then just go to our website and click on the results page. And then you can go through all the testimonials that you need to see. Now, the reason I do this is because we can pretty much track everything on the back end. And we've seen that there are some leads that we speak to that they need to watch every single testimonial that we have on our website in order to to build up enough trust. Then there are other people that they just go to the results page and they don't even click on any testimonials. And just the fact that we have the client results, that's more than enough proof that they need in order to trust us. And then we have other leads that are sort of in between. They might click and play a few testimonials, and then that's all they need in order to trust us. So everyone is a little bit different. But the point is, you want to give that control to your lead or to your prospect. You want them to be the ones to decide how many of your testimonials and client results and case studies that they actually go through, because again, everyone's going to be different. So that way you don't waste their time in the VSL. If all they need to do is just see 1 or 2 testimonials, they can just go to your results page and do that. But you don't need to go through it on the VSL itself. In order to get conversions, you just need to tell people in the VSL that this does exist, and they can go to your website to learn more and see those client results. Now, if you don't have any client results or case studies or any proof or anything like that, maybe you're new or for whatever reason you can't actually use client proof. So for example, we have some financial advisor clients, and for compliance reasons, they can't actually use any testimonials for their business. So if that's the case, then everything I've gone through so far will still get you appointments. But this is just one extra step that if you can do, it will help improve your conversion rates even more. And if you don't have any testimonials yet because you're new, that's okay. You can just start with what you have, get some appointments, get some clients converted. And then once you do have testimonials, you can just update your VSL and include the testimonials at this stage of the VSL script. So now that you've provided proof that you can actually do what you say you can do, the next step is to have a call to action to get people to go to the next step of your sales process. And for most of our clients, that is, as you probably guessed, to schedule a call in their calendar. So to do this is very simple. You just tell people to click the link below this video to schedule a call in the calendar. And it's important you actually do tell people to do this. I know it might sound silly, but if you don't tell people what the next step is, even though it might be on the page, but if you don't actually tell people this is what they need to do, they're just not going to do it. So you need to tell people in the VSL, click the button, schedule a call, and then as a bonus, tell them what's going to happen on the call. Tell them what value they'll get from the call as well. And if you want to increase the quality of the appointments that you get, you can maybe spend a little bit more time just going through how your service actually works, what is your pricing and things like that, and actually describe to people what they can expect in terms of next steps if you do decide to work together. Now, this is optional. You don't have to do this, because if you do this, if you spend more time going through, your services and things like that, you are going to get less appointments. However, the quality is going to be higher. So what I normally recommend is just to make sure that the VSL is converting well, I'd recommend just being very brief with this part and not going into too much detail about your services and things like that, and just focus on getting appointments booked first. And then once you have appointments booked in your calendar and everything's converting well, if and only if you want to increase the quality a bit more, then you can update the VSL and include some extra stuff about your services and how it works in order to increase the quality even more. So that's why the first VSL that I created, it was actually only about 9 minutes long. And now the VSL I have is a little bit longer than that. But the only reason I have a longer VSL now is because the first VSL I created was getting so many appointments that I could barely keep up. So I had a choice of just hiring a salesperson or making the VSL longer in order to get less appointments, but then higher quality appointments with people that are just pretty much ready to buy. And I decided to create the longer VSL. Now, fast forward a few years since I did that. Now, again, I have so many appointments in my calendar that I've had to hire a salesperson to help with the amount of sales calls that I'm getting, because quite frankly, I don't think I can make the VSL any longer and still get it to continue converting. So that's okay. But these are all good problems to have. So, if your VSL is converting and you find that you're getting too busy, that's a good problem to have. I have a client that I recently started to work with, and within a week, he said that his whole calendar is booked up for a whole month and he has no more space on his calendar to speak to anyone else. And I said, that's a good problem to have. So now what he's doing, he's paused his ads, and what he's doing is he's looking to hire a salesperson to help him with the volume of sales appointments, and then he's going to turn his ads back on. So again, these are all good problems to have. But before you get to that stage, you need to have a high converting VSL in the first place. So create a VSL that converts first, and then you can always tweak it and improve it over time if you want to get even better results. Now, at this stage, even though I've given you a good overview of the VSL script that I recommend that you follow if you want to create a high converting video sales letter, I still recommend that you watch my VSL so you can actually see a real life example of all of the steps that I've just gone through in this video in action. So if you want to do that, just click the link in the description of this video to watch my free masterclass training, because my masterclass training is basically my video sales letter, and you'll be able to see how it all works. You'll be able to see how I do everything I've just gone through in this video in more detail, so that you can do the same thing for your business as well. Now, at this stage, once you've created a high converting VSL, that doesn't instantly mean you're going to get lots of leads and appointments. You still need to actually promote the VSL, because you could have the best VSL in the world, but if no one actually sees it, then it's pointless, right? No one's actually going to book a call with you and you're not going to get any clients. And in other words, what is the best way to drive traffic to your VSL in order to get leads, appointments, and clients? Well, to do this, I recommend using the Pareto principle, where 20% of your work basically influences 80% of your results. And if you'd like to learn what are the channels we use to promote the VSL, again, pay special attention to step 4 of my free masterclass training, because in step 4 of my VSL, I go through how we actually promote the VSL, and I go through what channels we use and how we use the Pareto principle on those channels to actually get leads, appointments, and clients by basically cutting out 80% of the busy work that everyone else is doing that just doesn't get any good results, and just focus on the 20% of the work that you need to do to get real tangible results. So again, if you'd like to see how that works, just click the link in the description of this video to watch my free masterclass training, and I'll see you on the other side.